Welcome to Momentum Investing, property investing made easy. One of the world's top podcasts on property investing, bringing you the top experts in the field so you can learn firsthand what it takes to create passive income and take control over your financial future.
Hi, and welcome to the Momentum Investing Podcast. I am here at Knights Camp with my kids, but that doesn't mean we miss our show, does it? Welcome, my name is Daniel Wood. I'm one of the founders of Momentum Property Education, and our mission is to every week help you find the best learnings from some of the best teachers from all over the world so that you can build a successful property portfolio. This week, I interviewed Michelle Cairns, who shared with us how she is able to raise so much money to do all the deals. Raising money is one of the key parts to being a successful property investor. That's what you're learning this week. So let's get straight into the episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. See you there.
Welcome to the Momentum Investing Podcast. We are back with Michelle Cairns, one of our earlier guests who I wanted to bring back because you have done some amazing things, Michelle, on raising investor capital. And I was hoping we could get a bit of a play-by-play playbook for how do we go out and raise investor capital from investors. So welcome back.
Well, thanks very much, Daniel. It's absolutely delighted to be invited back. So it's great to be here and share more about the journey with your listeners and see, how we can inspire them and what nuggets we can share today. So I've got lots to share.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, you've been working on some exciting deals lately, and I'm sure you'll use some of them as kind of case studies here as you share. But I'd love to kind of go really back to basic and starting point and kind of say, look, if I'm a new investor, I'm just starting out, I haven't done my first deal yet, but I need to go out and raise investor capital. What's kind of your recommendation? How do I get started in that process?
So looking back over the journey of 6-7 years now, the first networking meeting I went to was 7 years ago. And that was really my first exposure to property, the property world, what could be done, what couldn't be done. Before that, I had no knowledge, I had no awareness of this industry at all. My background is in teaching French and Spanish, so completely different. Didn't have any sort of connections in property or anything, but I just had decided, that I wanted to get into property as another source of income and other alternatives. So that was how I started my journey. And I understood from the beginning that this was not going to be an overnight get quick rich sort of scheme or anything like that. I could see that there was a lot of hard work, and one consistent message that came through was your network is your net worth. And obviously it's bandied about now, it's cheesy, but at the beginning, I really took that to heart. And I remember somebody saying to me, build your network before you need it. So I said, all right, okay. And I'd made the decision at the beginning that this all sort of made sense. It was for me. I could see how it worked. I could see my role in it and what I could do and what could be achieved. So I made the decision that I would be in it for the long term. Who knows? We can't say about the future, but it was all about building relationships from day one. So, obviously the way the world works, especially now, sort of social media and back then, obviously pre-COVID, meetings and that kind of thing. To me, it was about consistency. It was about showing up. It was about going to those networking meetings every month. Sometimes I was doing 6-7 a month, a bit crazy, but I would always make sure that I had 2 or 3 that I'd always go to. And then I think, that was that was one of the main things that really helped me, was just building those relationships so people could see that, I was doing what I was saying I was going to do. And I was putting all that effort in, investing in myself, investing in my education, and then it's kind of like that idea of the bamboo where, you know, it looks like nothing's happening for for a couple of years, and then suddenly it shoots up, but actually you've got really strong roots. So to me, it was all at the beginning was about building those roots, those foundations, and getting to know people, getting to know kind of who I would like to work with, who I wouldn't, and obviously at the beginning I had no track record to show of, so it was all about, well, how can I add value then if I can't actually provide people with deals or money myself, what can I do? So to me personally, it was all about connecting people. So it was, oh, someone needs a plumber, I know somebody who said they had a good plumber, and it was connecting them there. Or you know, agents, well, here's a deal, it doesn't suit me, but actually go and speak to this agent. So choosing sort of people who, I guess where they just resonated, you know, like-minded people where I thought I could get on with them, where they were interested and curious in my journey as well and what I was up to. So I also just said yes to everything and anything in terms of like networking, any opportunities I could. So I volunteered at one of the local meetings for a number of years. And I've actually now been asked to host that meeting. So as of September, I'll be the new host of
Oh,
the
wow.
Best of
Congratulations.
Thank you. Which kind of is a big milestone, you know, to kind of come to that point. And you know, I've kind of sort of telling the story from the beginning here, but it's just easy sometimes to look at where I am today and say, oh, okay, you've got this investor and, you know, they're willing to lend a couple $100,000 or whatever. Lucky you. But actually people don't appreciate that, you know, beneath their surface, all of the work, the hard work that's gone into getting to that point where you have the credibility, you have the track record. So in a nutshell, it's all about, for me, building that over time and having, you know, the plan in place, understanding obviously the property kind of goes without saying there, but I'll add it in. The property deals need to stack.
Yeah.
So when you're going to an investor to say, actually, here is a deal and here's what I want to do with it, that you're not just, you know, you're talking the language that they understand, you coming across like you know what you're doing, because you do, because you've put that time in. So yeah, I think that's probably how I got started, and tracking what I did through social media as well. I personally thought I wasn't really doing that much. I was just putting a few things on here and there. But you know, people, kind of the feedback I get is that I seem to be everywhere. So one of the opportunities that that I said yes to was working with a national property magazine, and now I really am everywhere, because I'm just doing all of the sales products with them. I host their podcast as well, and so I get to speak to experts across the country and get paid for it. So it's an absolute dream job, really.
Yeah. So, all right. So, well, I mean, there's just so much to dissect in there, but if we kind of take it, because basically the base of it, the kind of is get out there, start networking, start talking to people, and just spread the message that you're on this journey, and then complement that with sharing on social media so that they can see that you are continuing that journey and having progress. But that was 7 years ago. The world is a little bit different now with COVID and everything. How would you recommend someone who's kind of starting out now and can't go to, you know, a lot of local meetups, and especially for internationals where there aren't the same kind of property meetups as there are in the UK, where, you know, literally you'll have property investors and you'll actually have people that come to those meetings to find someone to invest with. We don't really have that here in other parts of Europe. How would you go about, now we're getting into hypotheticals, of course, but how would you go about building up your network in today in in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany, France?
Yeah, I think because you can't have that live interaction with people, it's so much more important to stay connected in the ways that you can. Whether that is sending a birthday card to somebody who might be a potential investor, or a thank you card for anything that somebody's done, whether that's engaging in their posts on social media, anything that you can do to kind of be consistently present and engaged in conversations, as well as sharing what you're doing as well. And we work with virtual assistant now, and we've got a couple of those, and that's amazing because it really helps structure that process of managing the contact list, the CRM, to say, okay, well, actually, let's put out something this week to say what we're up to, and if people like it, they'll stay subscribed, and if they don't, that's fine. But just to kind of, I think I don't know whether we're up to like 11 touch points over the various different platforms now. So anything you can do to kind of stay connected, I think, is the main thing.
Well, let's get into that a little bit, because that's really exciting. What kind of touch points, how are you reaching out to investors today?
So I think if you literally just make a list of all of the different ways that you can meet them, whether 1 month it might be a phone call or a message. I've got one investor, and every time, I mean, the repayments are just on a standing order, so I don't personally like manually transfer the payment, but every month, so today she just sends me a little message to say, oh, what's going on with her, and I reply, and that's quite sweet. So and other ones are, an investor we paid back just recently, so I organized a bunch of flowers, some wine, and a card to be sent to the house as well. We've got a big day today, completion day today, where one of our investors, who is the biggest amount that I've borrowed anyway, around £300,000, and he has been incredibly supportive through the COVID, and he's earning a nice sum out of it as well. So that's great for him, and it's been a win-win. And because of everything that's been going on with COVID and solicitors and everything, keeping the communication as open as possible, and I would say more than you think, is really important. So any little thing that happens, even if nothing happens that week, then it's just like, hey, nothing's happened this week, but I'm just touching base. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Everything's fine. So reassurance, I guess, when you're in a project is really important. In terms of other investors and touch points, just, I guess, anything you can do to kind of help out. We've got like a WhatsApp group for the local investors where I am, and I set up a Facebook group. It's called Chester Landlords and Investors. I set that up. It's got over 500 people in it now, and that's a way for the community to kind of come together. And someone's saying, does anyone know an electrician? Someone else is saying, has anyone got something to rent? Someone else is saying, here's what we've got on today, and kind of promoting. So I think if there isn't anything there where you are, create something. It takes nothing to create a Facebook page. It takes nothing to create your own meeting on Meetup. So that's one thing that I started, a live in-person Meetup group. And it's free, and I don't charge. People come along to that, and that really helps as well. So any value that you can add is a good place to start.
And that's awesome. And I love that you have such focus on your current investors, that it's not just chasing out after new investors, because that's how it grows, right? You talk the current investors are happy, then you get new investors that kind of come based on referrals.
Yeah, I've got one investor, and we agreed it was a long-term project. So we agreed 7 years, and I'm actually in a position to pay her back now after 2 years.
Oh, nice.
So I said to her, and it's quite quite a generous interest rate, let's say. So I said, oh, do you want to kind of, we can settle this, so you can get your money back, and then we can go again on a different project. But she's like, do you know what? I'm all right. And because we've got the agreement in place and we both have to agree, then we're on, I'm happy to honour that agreement, because she invested with me at the beginning with, no security as such, just based on trust and a loan agreement. And for that, I'm happy to kind of honour that agreement and go forward, and I'll use the money on a different project and reinvest. But it's, for some people, especially with obviously the interest rates at the moment, they're getting nothing in the bank. So if she can earn 10 times what she gets in the bank, then why would she want me to give her money back? So there's different types of investors. I had one where the lady owned the house. It was tenanted, and it's fallen through 3 times. She just wanted to get rid of it. She just wanted to retire. The money was going to go in the bank. And I said to her, well, the thing is that actually I wanted a long-term lease on that one, because I didn't have a pot of cash ready to go for there. So I said, ideally it's this lease. And she's like, well, I just want to get rid of it. I just want to sell it. I said, well, I work with investors. I haven't actually got anybody lined up at the moment. But if the money's just going in the bank, would you be interested in being my investor for this house?
Ah, very smart.
I said, I'm happy to kind of give you a return, and we get it all formally drawn up. And she just said, yeah, that makes sense. So obviously went through solicitors, did it all properly. She got a restriction on her own house, so she lent me the money to buy her house.
True seller financing, straight up.
And that was brilliant, and great for her. She gets a great return. It's secured against the house, and it works all around. So
you just took over the property.
I just took it on. So I own the property. I, manage it, and the tenants are great. It's cash flowing from day one because it was already tenanted. So there was no refurb or anything to do on that one. We got it at a good price for the area, and actually just a quick sale for her. So she got what she wanted in terms of having somebody who did what they said they were going to do, and bought it. And it didn't pull out when everything got a bit scary with COVID. We just ploughed on, and that's great. So that's, again, I'll pay her back over 5 years, and I pay her in interest on the loan in the meantime.
Awesome. Yeah, so she essentially went from the owner of the house to now the bank holding the mortgage on the house.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. So no, that's really, really cool. And I love the fact that there are so many tools we can use, right? That's what makes this so exciting. If we want to follow you more, if we want to learn more from you in the future, how do we connect with you? You've already mentioned, obviously, the YPN podcast. How else do we connect with you?
Probably the best place is LinkedIn. That's where I post what I'm up to and what I'm doing. If you send me a direct message there and say, you're interested in finding out more, then feel free, and we can connect you and send out some more information about what we're up to. We've got, like I say, I work with the magazine, and I host a lot of their training programs as well as my own. So if anyone's interested in learning more, not just about me and my journey, but things that we've got to offer, and how to work with virtual assistants, or how to do developments, or anything like that, then you're very welcome to come and connect.
Sounds great. And I'll add a link to your LinkedIn profile here in the show notes, so it's easy to find. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining us again. Everyone listening, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I got an exciting message in a moment, so thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Momentum Investing Podcast. I hope you've had a blast. The kids have been spending all day shooting bows and arrows, fighting with swords, and going all in. You can see kind of the horse transports here in the background. So we're going all in here. But thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for being a part of the Momentum Property Education community. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get the latest updates on what is happening in the property market. see you next week, Thursday. We got an amazing interview with none other than Gisela Wood, one of the co-founders of Momentum Property Education, and my wife. She's the one who does the due diligence on all our properties. And she joined the Momentum Property Education Mastermind and shared, and they were blown away by the ability to do due diligence. So I thought, let's share it with the rest of the community. Thank you so much for joining us.